So when we went through the worship flow earlier this week, the song that we just experienced took me a little bit by surprise. And I paused and I said, Sarah, what was that? And we got the bigger context of like the raucous anthem that is the feeling behind that song. So between thinking about the spirited anthems of a generation like that one and bridging today and graduations, it all brought me back to thinking about the anthem of my senior year in high school. Now I'm going to date myself for a moment, but it was Boys to Men singing It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. Does anyone remember that song? It's so hard to say goodbye. I see Jennifer and Ken shaking heads. Similar generation. And my choir, of whom I love and was a part of for years and years, even sang that song at graduation with tears streaming down our faces. So hard to say goodbye to yesterday. The good times that made us laugh outweigh the bad. It's so hard to say goodbye. And perhaps you can think of a graduation that you've participated in or attended of a child or loved one. Can you remember getting ready for that big day, perhaps with a mix of nervous excitement and a twinge of sadness? Transitions are just that. We call these bridges in our faith. For our youth moving from middle school to high school, and our youth graduating from high school and moving on to the next phase of their life. These bridges that we travel take us from one place to the next, a sort of exodus from one time to what comes next. And there are often important speeches and words of encouragement and blessings that come at these times of transitions and bridges. And now with the aid of technology, we can experience graduation speeches from around the world, even if we have zero connection to the institution. I think of First Lady Michelle Obama's graduation speech at Tuskegee University in 2015, where she shared, "I found that this journey has been incredibly freeing because no matter what happened, I had the peace of mind knowing that all that chatter, all the name calling, the doubting, all of it was just noise. It did not define me. It didn't change who I was. And most importantly, it couldn't hold me back." Or perhaps you remember Admiral William McRaven at University of Texas at Austin, his graduation speech then in 2018, who pointed to simple habits as a map toward success. "If you make your bed every day," he said, "you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride. It will encourage you to do another task and another and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed." Make your bed will also reinforce the fact that these little things in life matter. And if you can't do the little things right, you will never do the big things right. So that admonition, encouragement, invitation to make your bed every day, for me, gave rise to one of my favorite mantras. If you want to change the world, start by making your bed. Or perhaps you remember Oprah Winfrey, who encouraged the graduating class of Harvard University in 2013. "Learn from every mistake," she said, "because every experience, encounter, and particularly your mistakes are there to teach you and force you into being more of who you are. And then figure out what is the next right move. And the key to life is to develop an internal, moral, emotional GPS that can tell you which way to go." Or perhaps you remember David Foster Wallace in his graduation speech to Kenyon College in 2005, one of the most watched graduation speeches to this day, who shared this reminder. 20 years after my own graduation, I have come gradually to understand that the liberal arts cliche about teaching you how to think is actually shorthand for a much deeper, serious idea. Learning how to think really means learning how to exercise some control over how and what you think. It means being conscious and aware enough to choose what you pay attention to and to choose how you construct meaning from that experience. Because if you cannot exercise this kind of choice in adult life, you will be totally hosed. Each of these are epic life lessons, shared from lives hard lived, offered to those in the midst of transition on the bridges of life, and to us overall. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to affirm and promote our shared 8 principles in this congregation. And we draw from our shared 6 sources to guide our living tradition, which perhaps we could call in more often. And so I'm going to ask the usher to put the link in the chat to our 6 sources. And it's also in the order of service. Our 6 sources: direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, words and deeds of prophetic people, wisdom from the world's religions, Jewish and Christian teachings, humanist teachings, and spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions. Our 6 sources are the lens through which we shine our principles. And that second source, words and deeds of prophetic people, is what is called to mind as we open our hearts to these epic life lessons, right? Guideposts for the bridges of life, blessings over transitions and new beginnings. But I have to say that word transitions kind of got caught in my thoughts a little bit. And it brought to mind something that I heard recently from a gender and queer studies professor. This professor was in a conversation with a trans person from Turkey, and that person shared that in their native language, trans people do not transition from one gender to another, which is inherently binary and therefore problematic. Gender is fluid. Gender is a social construction, which is why in their language, trans people speak of gender harmony. Gender harmony. They do not transition, they strive for harmony. So their insides, their minds, their hearts, their spirits match their outsides and how they are in the world. I loved that. Harmony. Life harmony. Identity and ways of being harmony. Love harmony. I think that's something that we can all relate to, understand, and share. I think that is the essence of a spiritual path. We embrace our calling in the world. We embrace justice and courageous love. We embrace compassion for ourselves and others and move into a place of belonging and action and being from that internal compass. Giving and service, giving and receiving, humility and grace. And so, yes, and we are part of a living tradition. We are all a part of a living tradition. We are all called, as our call to worship said this morning. We all have the words and deeds of prophetic people within us because we are all the prophetic people of our time as we strive to embody lives that preach our faith louder than our lips and our words. So I'm wondering, watching the time as well, I am wondering if we could create, and I beg for your grace, a shared blessing for our bridgers, for those seeking harmony, for all of us in various places of transition and unfolding. Can we do that together? Maybe you can take a moment to recall a powerful statement, a mantra or a quote that says everything to you, that says, yes, yes, that. What words come to you when things get hard? When you may feel disjointed and out of sorts, when you may be lost and confused, or maybe just simply heartbroken. What prophetic words do you have to share this morning? What words of blessing can we offer to each other and our bridgers? Okay, so let's think for a moment. Maybe you need to go run and grab a book or a magazine or something you've posted on your wall. I seem to have quotes everywhere around my desk. Maybe you can scroll through some cherished memes or favorite pictures of quotes, even paraphrased quotes that's beloved to your heart is good. Your words are good. So beloveds, look at you. We can do hard things. Niambi, yes. So I invite you to share in the chat. Continue to share in the chat. And if the chat is inaccessible, I'm going to read a few of these words of wisdom, encouragement, and harmony. For those who are on devices that make using the chat challenging, I invite you to either raise your hand using the Zoom feature, raise your hand, or physically raise your hand, and I'll ask the ushers to put your name in the chat so I may call on you. And if you are so bold, you may speak your words of encouragement in the room. And while you're doing that, if anyone can find the raise hand function in Zoom, I'm going to read some of these. Aww. May you treat your learning and growth as choices with grace and kindness towards yourself. Yes. Don't let the things you can't do stop you from doing the things you can. You are enough. Oh, Matthew. Hey there, Matthew. May the harmony within you radiate out into the universe and make it so. Harmonious voices. We can do hard things. I have that on my microwave at home. Resilience is learning from your past rather than resenting it. Amen. The sky overhead is always beautiful, even when I'm not paying attention. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Jay. Breathe. Just breathe. John, embrace the journey. Faith, not fear. Oh, y'all are amazing. Okay, I'm going to slide down a little bit. Beth shares, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Howard Thurman, amen. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, because the world needs people who have come alive. Julianne, you don't need to decide what to do for the rest of your life. You need only decide what to do next. And Jennifer's dad shares, luck is an opportunity that you are prepared for. Yes, we are going to collect these and share these with everyone. Thank you, Stephanie, for Viktor Frankl, one of my favorite books. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you try to catch it, the more it flies away. If you focus on other things, it will come and sit on your shoulder, and hopefully it's not a cicada. Harakara, Hakuna, Baraka. Literal translation, hurry, hurry. There is not blessing. Take time to reflect. There will be growth. Amen, Rena. From the land of the Piscataway people, which is the land that UUCR sits on. And Laura shares, you are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have the right to be there. All of these blessings will be rolled up and shared with our bridgers today and everyone as a gift from us, their spiritual home, our spiritual home. And thank you, everyone. Did anyone raise their hand physically or in the chat or in Zoom feature? I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. No hands. Thank you, Adrienne. Okay. Thank you for sharing your heart, your love, and your wisdom. What an amazing, amazing collaboration. I love the desiderata as well. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for sharing and drinking deep of our shared wisdom. To close, share these words of benediction from Monica Cummings, the first part of our benediction today, and the second will be during the benediction after our closing song. And it's called To Bless a Stranger with a Smile. Take time each day to remember you are a part of the interconnected web of life. Bless a stranger with a smile. Tell the people in your life how much they mean to you. And take a moment every day, beginning with today, to give thanks for all that we have. Take time to give thanks. Take time to remember. Take time to be together. Amen and Ashe.